Good morning, boys and girls. Today we are starting multiplying fractions, and we're going to use this, do this method with the unit form, and we'll do a little bit with the area model. So our first equation is 5 times 2/3. So 5 times 2/3. Notice that I wrote the 2/3 in unit form because that's going to help me with my area model. So what that means is I'm taking 2/3 and I'm multiplying it 7 times. So what I'm going to draw is 1/3, 1/3. Together, 1/3 plus 1/3 is 2/3. Now I need to do this 7 times. Check back with me in a second. Okay, so if you check it out, what I did was I did 2/3, a third, and a third 7 times. So let's double check that I did 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now we're going to count them up and see how many 1/3s we have. And that means we have how many out of the thirds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We have 14 thirds. So 7 times 2/3 equals 14 thirds. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we know that this can also be written as 14 thirds. That would be unit form. Okay? So we could also write it in unit form, or we can write it in standard form. Now, I hope that you saw this and you're like, OMG, Mrs. Andrews, this is an improper fraction. The numerator is greater than the denominator. You're absolutely right. And we will talk about that later. Right now, I just want to focus on how we can turn multiplication into repeated addition using unit form. Okay, let's try the next one. Our next equation is 4 times 2/4. So what we're going to do is I like to rewrite it in unit form. And then I want to ask you, if we're breaking it up into fourths, how many would we, like up here, did we clump it by? So that means we first need to just talk about it in a benchmark fraction and make it into 1/4. And we're going to do that twice because there's 2/4. And that's 2/4. How many times do we need to do this? Look back to our equation. How many times are we going to add up 2/4? And hopefully you see that we're going to do this 4 times. So here's 1. Now we need to do it four times total, so 3 more. If you want to pause your video and do it, and then check back with me. Awesome job. So hopefully you saw that we did 2/4 4 times. Let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we can add them up. We know because our denominator is the same that it's going to stay the same, and we're trying to see how many fourths there are. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it equals 8/4. This is, we can write it up here, or we could also write it 8/4 in the unit form. Again, it's okay to leave it. Right now, you can leave it as an improper fraction. Tomorrow, we'll focus on how to convert this back to a mixed number, okay? Let's keep going. Why don't you try B, 6 times 3/5 right now, and then check back with me. So pause your video and try B all by yourself. Okay, guys, using that model method, I could show you that I did 1/5, 1/5, 1/5, which we know equals 3/5. And I did this 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could count all of these up and see out of the fifths how many I have. Or using that unit form, let me show you what you could do. Because we wrote it in unit form up here, we could easily see that there's a 6 and there's a 3, and that we're dealing with fifths. If we're dealing with fifths, let's go ahead and just write that straight up. Now, let's multiply 6 times 3. 6 times 3 is 18. So 6 times 3/5 is 18/5. Let's double check. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Oh, sorry, you couldn't see my finger. 18. Okay, so let's try it again with the ones we had from before, just to double check if our method works. So we had 4 times 2 fourths. We know we're dealing with fourths, so our denominator would be fourths. And then 4 times 2 is 8. 8 fourths. Love it, right? Let's look up here. 7 and 2 is 14, and we're talking about thirds. 14 thirds, just like we had, 14 thirds. So let's try that for our next strategy. Let's do 8 times 3 fourths. So very first step, what I need you to do is to just simply write 8 and 3 fourths in unit form. So you would write 8 times 3 fourths. Awesome. Our next step is I like to do my denominator, fourths. Write your denominator as fourths. And lastly, 8 times 3 is 24. Just like that. I want you to flip over and we're going to try, actually we have to do some word problems here. Let's try 3 real quick and then I'll show you your homework. Check in on Maria's costumes here. So Maria has, she needs 3/5 of a yard to make 1 costume, and she's trying to figure out 6 costumes. So we could do repeated addition and add 3/5 plus 3/5 and so forth 6 times. Remember, with multiplication, it doesn't matter which way you do it, it's the same thing. So I know before we did it this way, you could do it this way. A factor times a factor equals a product. It doesn't matter. Let's first start with our unit form. We're dealing with fifths. And then we're going to multiply our numbers. 3 times 6 is 18. Don't forget, because it's a word problem, we need to answer this in a word problem. So you should say something how Maria needs 18/5 yards of fabric for 6 costumes. I want you to try, let's do Morgan, number 4, all by yourself. Check back with me, pause your video. Hopefully when you did this one, guys, you got 9/10 times 6, and you got 54/10, and I also wrote it in unit form if that helps. Let's flip back to our homework, and let's do a few. So remember our strategies. We have this like repeated addition kind of strategy. I'm going to call this the model method. So you could do a model, or you could do that unit form, either one. So you could do the model method or unit form. The unit form, in my opinion, is closest to like the standard algorithm. It's not the standard algorithm. We'll learn that this week or next week, but it's pretty close. Let's do, how about we do 1, 2, we'll do those 3, and we'll do a bricklayer over here. So you have 1A, 2B, 2C, and 5. Remember, when you send me a picture of this, I like to see all of your work, and I should see an answer statement down here for number 5. Okay, guys? Have a great day. Thanks for working hard.